Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by
Infinity of Memphis has moved to Germantown Road, just half-mile north of Wolf Chase Galleria, and is proud to support WKNO for its quality broadcasting and service to our community. Quality and service? No wonder Infinity of Memphis feels at home on WKNO.
the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
My guest today on Sports Files is the tournament director of the FedEx St. Jude Classic, Daryl Smith. It's an annual Memphis event to see and be seen at. It's the FedEx St. Jude Classic, and it's right around the corner. This year's event will run from June 6th through the 12th at TPC Southwind. Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, Billy Horschel, and many of the world's best golfers will be on hand for this annual Memphis tradition. Today, tournament director Daryl Smith joins me to preview the tournament. We'll discuss what's new for spectators and the challenges that face the event each and every year. And for Daryl, who's now in his 11th year with the event and first as tournament director, what it means to put on a world-class event for the Memphis community. It's time to tee it up with Daryl Smith of the FedEx St. Jude Classic, and it's next on Sports Files. Daryl, great to have you on the show again.
Yep, you bet.
It's always good to see you, because I know when I see you, when you come on our program, we're close to the FedEx St. Jude Classic. It's one of my favorite events of the year, and we're looking forward to June 6th through the 12th. Congratulations is in order, because now officially you're the tournament director, although we know you've been with the tournament for now 11 years. So you've done things in many different capacities. You've worn many different hats, but now you're the big guy, right?
Yeah.
The buck stops with you.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's great being here. It's exciting times for the FedEx St. Jude Classic, and that's an annual sporting event here in Memphis, and it's something that we're all excited for. This year's event, the 59th playing of professional golf in Memphis, which is quite spectacular. We're extremely excited for it, and it's great to be in this role as tournament director now. And I had the opportunity to learn from the best and Phil Cannon, and
right.
Phil's still around our event as a senior advisor through this year's event. So it's a kind of a dream come true for me to be sitting in this chair as tournament director, and we look forward to a phenomenal event.
Well, congratulations again. When the weather turns nicer and warmer, that's when we start thinking golf, which is usually April, early May. But for you, right after the previous tournament ends, you have to start thinking about the next year's tournament. So it's 12 months a year for you with the preparation. So I'll ask you overall, how has that preparation gone as you get closer to this year's event?
Yeah, no doubt. It's a 12-month, it's a 12-month gig. A lot of people are really surprised when we say that, hey, we have 6 full-time staff members that work all year round for 1 week. And there's a lot of truth to that. But, we're always looking to improve our event. So as soon as that last putt is made, we're looking at what went well, what didn't go well, what are some new products, how was our volunteer experience, how did the vendors work, how is FedEx our title sponsor, what was their activity like that week, did they have good customer entertainment, and that goes down to all of our corporate partners. So we're always trying to improve. It's a constant to be continuously improving year to year. So it's an all year round event, and we have a lot of fun in the fall. We have some golf out there at TPC Southwind for our volunteers and for our corporate partners, and we have a holiday gift pack during the during the holidays that people are buying. So while a lot of people don't think of golf as a year round event, we're always thinking about golf and PGA Tour golf at the FedEx St. Jude Classic Tournament office.
Daryl, do you get a lot of feedback from the fans as to what was great about the tournament, what's something that could be improved upon, maybe suggestions on things that could be different? Do you get a lot of that?
Yeah, no doubt. That's constant. That's something that we hear every single year, and it might be right after the tournament, or it might be 6 months after the tournament when we have a volunteer critique meeting. But the biggest thing for us is to get that feedback and act upon it. We don't want to just get feedback and never do anything. It's a kind of a liberty that we have to reinvent ourselves every single year, and a lot of those preparations are done way in advance to now. We kind of know where we're going to be prior, 2, 3, 1 week before the tournament. We know what we're going to do, and we always are striving for feedback and to make a best experience for everybody. If it's players, caddies, corporate partners, spectators, volunteers, we want to hear how their experience can be better.
Aside from the obvious, that's bringing in the best players in the world to play in your event, what's the toughest part of your job?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me right now, it's more on the personal side. I have a little one at home that's 2 years old. That it makes things a little bit more challenging as this time of year the hours are intense. And I actually have a wife who's pregnant, who's eight months pregnant. So
congratulations.
Well, I appreciate that. So she's due July 2nd, so right after the tournament. So it's balancing that out for me right now. As our focus is on PGA Tour and FedEx St. Jude Classic, then also dealing with the stuff at home, which is great, and it's a true blessing. But, as I get more accustomed to the tournament director's role, I think it's the most important thing for me, and not necessarily a change, but it's to build some relationships with players. That's where I think we're going to make a difference, is building some relationships with players. Some of the younger guys out there, Phil had great relationships, and a lot of the relationships that Phil had with players, and he has players from old and young, but most of them are, now moving on to maybe the Champions Tour. So I think that's the biggest challenge for me, the biggest opportunity is how I like to see it, is build some relationships with these guys, sell them on Memphis, sell them on the FedEx St. Jude Classic, and sell them on TPC Southwind.
All right, we'll get to the players. Some of the players already in the field. We're hoping to see a lot more names here before it's all said and done with the deadline next Friday. But you mentioned sponsorships, and hey, there's no tournament without corporate sponsorship. And you have a great title sponsor in FedEx. What is the current contract? How much longer do you have FedEx? And if you want to talk a little bit about having a great company like that being a part of this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we're blessed. We have FedEx as a title sponsor, and then we pair St. Jude, which is our sole beneficiary since 1970. I mean, you basically have two, unbelievable brands tied to our golf tournament, and that's extremely fortunate. FedEx is, the relationship with the tournament spans, back to 1986, and they're under contract with our event through 2017. That coincides with the FedEx Cup. FedEx is not only a very, very powerful sponsor for Memphis's PGA Tour event, but they're a powerful sponsor for professional golf in general with their FedEx Cup. So, it's a true blessing to have a company that believes in the game of golf like they do. They see great value in customer entertainment, from branding, the whole 9 yards. So we're very, very fortunate. We hope to have them around for many, many, many more years, and we'll see what the future holds.
As of this taping, you've announced players such as Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson back for a fourth straight year. Right. Billy Horschel is certainly a fan favorite and a rising star in the game. Let's start with Phil. To have Mickelson back, and you see his billboards all around the town, that has to be a shot in the arm.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think you look back, and 5 years ago, you probably didn't think that Phil Mickelson would play the FedEx St. Jude Classic for 4 consecutive years. It's kind of become a normal, and we weren't at that stage, 4 years ago. And it's, he's a true legend of the game. There's not many people who follow the game of golf, or not even follow the game of golf, who don't know who Phil Mickelson is. And he's a powerful image to be associated with our golf tournament. He's extremely complimentary of our golf course at TPC Southwind. He's extremely complimentary of our city in Memphis. He enjoys coming to Memphis, and it doesn't hurt that he's played extremely well when he's been in Memphis. Last year he shoots a final round 65, and kind of gets in within a stroke or so of the lead, which is always what you want on Sunday. Phil Mickelson, a legend of the game, battling out for the championship. So Mickelson has been. I can't say enough good things about Phil Mickelson. He means a lot to our tournament, and he's been very, very complimentary of his time here. And we're thrilled that he continues to prepare for the U.S. Open in Memphis. And it'd be great for him to finally get that elusive U.S. Open victory when he plays at Memphis the week before. Yeah,
you led me into the next question. The U.S. Open follows the FedEx St. Jude Classic on the schedule. Last year, daunting task. It always is a daunting task with the Open following the FedEx St. Jude Classic. But last year, with the tournament way out on the West Coast, was really challenging. This year, it's at Oakmont. It's east. Is that helping you out?
I think it will. I mean, time will tell. I mean, the benefit of playing the week before the U.S. Open is Phil Mickelson and guys like that want to prepare. Of course, the disadvantage is that it's a pendulum that goes back and forth. It depends on what that guy wants to do that particular year. Ricky Fowler plays our event in 2014. That was the year that it was prior to Pinehurst, and it made a lot of sense that they played Memphis, similar grasses, similar type of turf conditions that they wanted to prepare in Memphis. Last year, the golf course from a different planet. Memphis wasn't high on the priority list. They were going to go out there and actually see that golf course for themselves. This year, Oakmont is a traditional U.S. Open style golf course. They have to hit greens, they have to hit fairways, there'll be high rough. As Jordan Spieth said, it's the hardest golf course he's ever seen. We think our golf course prepares people for that type of challenge, and not that we're nowhere like Oakmont. You hit it in the rough at TPC Southwind, you're more than likely to be able to get it out and advance the ball close to the green. So it has its benefits, but I think we're in a good date. I think anytime that you can tee it up with Phil Mickelson and a guy like Dustin Johnson, who'll more than likely be representing the United States in the Olympics and who's one of our past champions, we'll take our chances. So we like where we are. I
love the description of a course from a different planet because it certainly was. Let's talk about the course. It is, and since they remade the image of FedEx St. Jude Classic, I go back to one of my early years here in Memphis and John Cook just blistering the course. And oh my gosh, it looks like a putt-putt course. You've made it one of the most challenging golf courses on tour. And you know that the players that come out here want that challenge to get ready for the Open, like you alluded to with Phil Mickelson. So having a tough course and a big challenge for these guys is only beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, it's the golf course is, people talk about field. They talk about that type of, how do we get the better players in the game of golf to come to Memphis, and the golf course is never the issue. I've spent, several weeks out on the road this year talking to players of, hey, will you come to Memphis and play the FedEx St. Jude Classic? And almost the first thing I hear every single time is the golf course is phenomenal. And not only is it a challenge, but it's fair. They just like it. It fits their eye. Everything's out in front of them. It's not goofy. It's not tricked up at all.
Right.
And then it's always in a great shape. Jim Thomas and his crew at TPC Southwind do a phenomenal job with the putting surfaces. I mean, the greens have been great the last couple of years. So the golf course is a huge advantage. I mean, when you talk to PGA Tour players, they're going to decide where they want to play. Schedule and city, how does that fall in their planning, and then golf course. We can hope that there's other things that attract them to Memphis, but golf course is going to be a dominant factor. So we continue to talk about our golf course. We continue to hear positive feedback. Now we just got to get some of those guys here to actually experience it for themselves. And I think the golf course, once they're here, like Phil Mickelson, he says over and over how it's the most underrated golf course on the PGA Tour. So the golf course is definitely something to have in our hat as we go out and talk to more players.
As you know, no matter the field, the fans that do come to this golf tournament have a fantastic time. And it seems like every year, Darrell, you're looking to reinvent yourself. The tournament is to find new things to bring in the fans and have them have an enjoyable day or an enjoyable 4 days with the tournament. So what's new this year in 2016 for the FedEx St. Jude Classic?
Yeah, I mean, you're right on, Greg. I mean, we have the opportunity to reinvent ourselves every single year. And, our whole strategy around the FedEx St. Jude Classic is if you like golf, then we know you're going to be there because you want to watch the best players in the world. But if you don't like golf, why is there a reason why I should go out there and see that event? So this year, we're returning to the 11th hole with some hospitality called the Island Club. Our 11th hole, I will argue is the only island in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm not really sure if Mud Island would constitute as an island or not, but I actually think it might be the only island in Memphis. But we're going back to 11th hole, the hospitality, the Island Club. We're going to have a hole-in-one challenge brought to us by our friends at Camel Clinic. So if a professional makes a hole-in-one between the hours of 9 to 5, everybody inside the Island Club wins $100.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so we're real excited about that. I mean, it's got those type of stories. It's got to be more than the best players in the world. It's got to be another story. And, having St. Jude involved is also something that we don't take for granted. And, everybody's supportive there out at the golf tournament, it impacts the hospital. So we use that messaging as well. We have great charity integration throughout the week. We're going to have Star and Micey on Saturday night playing some music right after the last putt. So even if you like golf or not, you can stick around, hear some music in a pretty cool, unique venue at TPC Southwind. I mean, there's tons of hospitality structures. There's a lot of activity going on. It's not like you're going to a local golf course and they're just playing golf and there's rope and there's stakes. I mean, there's a lot of energy on site at TPC Southwind. So we have the Island Club, we have some after play music, we have an AutoZone Kids Zone. We're continuing to reinvent ourselves and add value to everybody who comes on property.
Are there package deals available? Obviously, you sell the pass for the whole week, and then you sell individual rounds as well. But are there things that also incorporate getting into one of those tents for beverages and food and things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, we spend most of our time, trying to get corporations and corporate companies to look at PGA Tour golf to entertain their customers. And there's a variety of different packages available. If it's in our pavilion on the 18th fairway, where it's an all-inclusive experience.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing better. My wife jokes with me that when we go see another golf tournament, she wants to know what hospitality tent we're in. That's the first question that's asked. So it's like, once you experience it, you don't want to do anything else. But, the pavilion is one of our great products. We have private hospitality on the 17th green. And then we have ticket packages, just different packages that people can buy into for a group of tickets. If it's 25 tickets or 40 tickets or 55 tickets, we're actually running a fan pack as well. So it's 4 one-day tickets, 4 hot dogs, and 4 soft drinks for $90.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's something for the family. Or you don't have to be a family. You could just be 4 friends that want to come out for one day, and you get a little bit more value. And we're fortunate to have a great relationship with MasterCard, where if you use your MasterCard, you get some benefits. You get 10% off of daily grounds tickets, as well as concession stands and merchandise. So there's a lot of things that we offer at the FedEx St. Jude Classic, and it's something for everybody, and all that can be found on stjudeclassic.com.
Is that the best way to purchase tickets, going online?
Yeah, online ticket sales is definitely the best way to do that. There are some pricing incentives, so if you buy prior to tournament week, you get to save a little money. As we get closer to tournament week, those prices do tend to go up a little bit. But stjudeclassic.com is kind of our one-stop shop for everything related to the golf tournament.
Back to the players in the field. You guys are notorious for giving young players a chance. Jordan Spieth comes to mind. You gave him an opportunity to play in his first tournament as an amateur.
That's right.
What about this year? We have anybody we can look forward to seeing?
Yeah, I mean, so our focus is still in that general area, Greg. I mean, it's as long as we can use those sponsors exemptions to make a relationship with an up-and-coming player, that's where our focus is going to remain. And the college golf this year is as strong as it has ever been. If you follow the game of golf, you realize that there's some great players that are going to either probably exercise their option to turn pro, or they are graduating. There's a kid out of the University of Georgia who finished tied for 4th at the Valspar Championship. Lee McCoy, he's on our radar. We think he's a great player. He played the final round with Jordan Spieth and went toe-to-toe with Jordan Spieth. And, that says a lot, as though, it's going toe-to-toe with world number 2 and a guy who took the golf world by storm. And, there's some other kids that we're looking at. There's a great kid out of Alabama, Robbie Shelton, who actually played in the Barbasol Championship down in Alabama last year, that finished in the top 5, and if they can make their pro debuts here in Memphis, that does nothing but help us. There's a kid out of Texas, and Bo Hostler, that we're interested in, who actually was leading the U.S. Open as a 16-year-old when it was played out in San Francisco. So that's our focus. Our focus is to use those sponsors exemptions to build relationships with these players. And hopefully, if they do end up playing well and making the PGA Tour, they'll always remember that, hey, Memphis, Tennessee, and FedEx St. Jude Classic is where I got my start. And, we had great success. Billy Horschel's first pro start was here in Memphis. Webb Simpson's very first pro start was here in Memphis. So it's impactful, and it can make a huge difference.
Daryl, we have about a minute left. We talked about the young players. Now let's talk about the young fans. Is golf a sport that the younger fans are coming to, or is there an issue with that? And how do we make sure? Because that's the next generation of fans. You lose the youngsters, then years from now you don't have anybody.
There's no doubt. I mean, that's definitely a topic that's been under a lot of consideration for all the organizing bodies in professional golf, and it all goes back to growth of the game. And there's something new that we're doing this year with a sponsor exemption that we've already extended to Wesley Bryan, who's won 2 Web.com events. Mm-hmm. He's actually played extremely well, and part of Wesley's whole environment, or what got him interested in golf, is just trick shots, and he's actually going to do a trick shot show on site at the FedEx St. Jude Classic on Wednesday at 5:30. So it's showcasing golf in a more fun environment. It's not all about everybody has to be quiet. You have to hit the ball straight. You have to go up there, putt, all that good stuff. So I think that developing our next generation of fan is on everybody to do that and make golf more enjoyable. If it's easier to get started, the cost of entering the game is less than what it is now. If its success is achieved easier with larger holes, bigger balls, whatever it might be, then that's important for everybody. And I think Ricky Fowler, I think those guys have done a great job of showcasing golf in a different way. It's not the 45-year-old out there winning every tournament with khaki pants and a collared shirt.
Right.
It's a lot of Ricky Fowler in bright orange and, Jason Day and
Jordan Spieth,
all those guys. The young guys are making a huge impact on the game of golf, and we think that they'll continue to do that.
Daryl, can't wait. It's my favorite event of the year, sporting event in Memphis. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you.
That's Daryl Smith from the FedEx St. Jude Classic. Overtime is next. Last month, three-time Memphis winner Lee Trevino made a special appearance in Memphis for the annual Champions Day luncheon. The man known affectionately as the Merry Mex is one of golf's great ambassadors and a Hall of Famer to boot. Our producer David George attended the luncheon and then was able to spend a few minutes with one of the game's all-time biggest personalities.
So let's start at the beginning. How did you get started in golf?
Oh God, I have no clue. I've caddied as a kid. My uncle caddied at Glen Lakes Country Club, DAC Country Club in Dallas, and I was just a little runt. And he got me into looking for balls and what have you, and I got kind of, playing just a little bit. But I never got interested in it until I was 19 years old. I was in the Marine Corps, and I saw a sign on the bulletin board, try out for Thurman Division golf team, so I tried out for it, and I made it. And I played for a couple of years in the Marine Corps, and when I got out, I didn't pursue the game. I actually went to work in construction crew building a golf course. And then I started practicing and beating everybody, and I started getting better and better and better, and I kept beating even guys that were on tour. So I qualified for the U.S. Open in '67, finished 5th. Then I won the Open in '68, and I got a lifetime exemption, and the rest is history.
Now, rumor has it that when you were in the Marines and playing golf, you got a promotion because you were playing with them?
No, I never did. And in fact, I didn't get the promotion. It was the other way around.
Because you beat them?
Well, yeah, but I used to play with the generals and the colonels because they like to gamble a little bit and they always want the best player. So they found out. I was the only guy in the world that was driving around in a staff car with a star on the fender, and they would salute me when I would go in the gate, and I was only a corporal because they picked me up and dropped me off every year. Yeah.
Now, you're self-taught golf? You never had a coach, never had an instructor?
No, I never did that. I used to use that as a joke, too. People say I didn't have a coach, and I said, well, I never could find a coach that could beat me. And, why would you want to take lessons from some guy you can beat? That doesn't do any good. You need to take lessons from somebody that's beaten you, you know what I'm saying? That's what you want, yeah.
You've won 3 times here, runner-up twice. What are your favorite memories, special moments from playing here?
Well, my special moment naturally has always been the St. Jude Hospital. I became a great and a good friend of Danny Thomas, and we've been coming here. I've been coming here since the late 60s. I was lucky enough to win in 71, 72, and 80. And I donated money, and I've raised money for 45 years now for the St. Jude Hospital. I have a special little spot in my heart. I do this because I want to. It's not because I'm trying to buy myself a spot up next to the band. You understand? And that's what we're looking for.
So, Nicklaus, you've had many, many, many great moments and competitions with Jack Nicklaus. Would you say he's your biggest rival?
Well, he was the biggest. He was the guy that set the bar. And there's no question about it. It's just like Tiger Woods set the bar for many, many years. There's always been a guy that sets the bar, Palmer before that. That's who you looked at. You looked at Jack, and that's who you went after. You didn't think about anyone else. I was fortunate enough to beat him a couple of times. Not often enough, but greatest player that's ever played. And I think that's the feather in my hat, that I did play against the best that's ever played the game.
And where did you get the moniker Merry Mex?
My manager gave that to me in Cleveland in 1968, sorry. After I'd won the U.S. Open, I went to Cleveland to play a golf tournament, and he had a bunch of kids holding signs up saying the Merry Mex, and it stuck with me.
Well, you always seem to have a smile on your face while you're out there playing. Is that part of it?
Well, if you really know where I came from and where I'm at today, you'd have a smile on your face, too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lee's 3 wins in Memphis occurred in 1971, 72, and he won his 3rd title in 1980. Well, it's with a heavy heart that I have to tell you that this is the final episode of Sports Files. What started as a simple idea 6 years ago turned into a showcase for some of the biggest names from the sports world, both locally and nationally. I took the show over from Jeff Calkins 4 years ago, and have had an absolute blast. First, I want to thank our loyal viewers and supporters and our extremely appreciated underwriters, including the great people at Infinity of Memphis who are always there for us. I want to thank the man whose vision became a reality, the show's executive producer, Russ Abernathy. A tip of the cap to a great production crew led by director Peter Richards, Bard Cole, Natalie Chandler, Matt Young, and Mike Degnit, and engineering manager Erwin Roman. In the studio, Sean Milan made me look good, and Clifford Thomas was everywhere, in the field shooting video and running the teleprompter in studio like he is now. Nolan Smith edited most of the video you saw on the show and ran audio, truly an unsung hero. And then there was my right-hand man, producer David George, who wore many hats. He was the backbone of the show. To all the staff and crew, thank you. And to all of you out there, it has been my pleasure to have hosted this great program for the past 4 years. So long.
Production funding for Sports Files is made possible in part by
Infinity of Memphis has moved to Germantown Road, just half-mile north of Wolf Chase Galleria, and is proud to support WKNO for its quality broadcasting and service to our community. Quality and service? No wonder Infinity of Memphis feels at home on WKNO.